Hello there, I'm Kafi Khan and welcome back to my Android tutorials. In today's video, we'll be talking about RecyclerView. So what is a RecyclerView? It is just like a list view, but then why do we need it? Well, sometimes we need to populate huge amount of data, and loading all that huge list in the memory results in a bad application performance and might even make your application crash prone. Here comes RecyclerView in the picture. So what it does is, it creates the view items which are scrolled in the screen and destroys the items which are scrolled out of the screen. So what's happening here is, the only limited small amount of view items which are visible on your screen are only present in the memory. That's why giving you a smooth scroll and a better application performance. So let's get started. Let's create a new project. Let's call it RecyclerView tutorial. Let's hit the next button. Again, we're going to keep our minimum SDK as 15. Why? So that we can run our application on almost 100% of the devices running Android in the world. Let's hit the next button. Let's start with an empty activity. And let's call our first activity as main activity. So let's hit the finish button. Well, Android Studio is building our project, so let's wait. Well, the project's built and it's ready to go. So let's get started. Well, before we get started, to use a RecyclerView, we need to add a dependency in the Gradle. So let's do that. So Gradle scripts, application Gradle, and let's add the dependency here. So implementation, com, Android, support, RecyclerView, v7, and the SDK version, so which is here 26.1.0. So let's sync the Gradle now. Well, the Gradle's built and we are good to go. So let's close this. Coming to the layout file, so let's get rid of this constraint layout. Okay, let's use a linear layout here. Let's provide the orientation, say vertical. Let's get rid of this text view. We need a RecyclerView here. So RecyclerView with match parent, height match parent. Okay, let's provide it with an ID. So let's say, so coming to the functionality part now, we need an instance of that RecyclerView here. So let's create one. So private RecyclerView, let's call it RecyclerView. Let's initialize it. So RecyclerView is equal to find view by ID, r.id, and RecyclerView. Okay, so we've got an instance of a RecyclerView. So RecyclerView requires another parameter, which is a layout manager. So we've got several layout managers. So for instance, we've got a linear layout manager. Here we can define list to be in a linear fashion, which could either be horizontal scrolling or vertical scrolling. And we've got a grid layout manager. So let's use a linear layout manager here. So linear layout manager, let's call it layout manager is equal to new linear layout manager, and let's provide the context. So this, okay, and let's just set the layout manager in our RecyclerView. So RecyclerView, set layout manager, and let's pass our object here. So we're good to go. Now all we need is an adapter. So let's create one. So project, application, Java or directory, right click, new Java class. So let's call it custom adapter. Let's hit the OK button. Let's close this. So RecyclerView adapter are based on ViewHolder pattern. So what's a ViewHolder? ViewHolder describes an item view and metadata about its position in the RecyclerView. So let's create a ViewHolder class here. So public ViewHolder, and this needs to be a subclass of RecyclerViewHolder. So let's extend that. So extends RecyclerView.ViewHolder. Okay, this requires a constructor, so let's provide that. So public ViewHolder, and it needs view as a parameter. So let's add that. Let's import the class and super view. Well, our constructor is ready. So and this custom adapter class, even this needs to be a subclass of RecyclerView adapters. So let's do that. So extends RecyclerView.adapter. Let's pass the view holder. So custom adapter dot view holder? Well, it requires some implementation of some functions. So let's implement those. So on create view holder, on bind view holder, and get item count. Okay, so create view holder, here we inflate our layout, the view. So let's do that. So view is equal to layout inflator from. Okay, so let's define a constructor because we need the data to be populated here along with the context. So public custom adapter context and an array list. So let's define this to be a array list of strings. Let's call it array list. Let's define some member variables. So private context, and again private or array list, which is of type string. Let's call it array list. Let's set the values here. So this dot context is equal to context. Similarly for array list, this dot array list is equal to array list. Well, our constructor is ready, so we can use the context here. So context and inflate. So we need a layout here. So let's define a layout for the view items. So resources, layout. Let's create another layout here. Let's call it list item layout. Also the OK button. Let's close this. Let's switch to the text mode. Again, let's get rid of this constraint layout. Let's use a linear layout here. Let's provide the orientation, say vertical. Let's change the height to wrap content because we're talking about a list item. Okay, so let's define a text view here. So with match parent, height wrap content, let's provide an ID. So let's call it Android version. Okay, let's check the preview. Let's bring it here. Okay, so we're good to go. Let's just copy this. So coming back to our adapter class. So let's use the layout here. So r.layout.list item layout, and let's pass the view group, so which is parent, and we don't want to attach our view in the view group, so false. Let's create a view holder instance now. So view holder, let's call it view holder is equal to new view holder, and this requires a parameter which is view. So let's pass our view here, and this entire function on create view holder returns a view holder. So let's return our newly created view holder here, and our function is ready. So this another function on bind view holder. Here we bind our data and the layout items. So we'll do that shortly. So this function get item count, it returns the number of list items. So let's implement that. So if array list is not equal to null and array list dot size is greater than 0. So we're just checking if our array list is not null or if it's not empty. If that's the case, then we'll return the size of our array list because that would be the number of list items. Else, we'll just return 0. Okay, so coming to our view holder now. So this class, say, holds an instance to our view or to our layout. So here we can reference all our views. So let's do that. Well, now we've got instance of our view items and we've got a list to be populated. So moving on to the on bind view holder. So we're just gonna bind our values to the view items. So let's do that. So holder dot version name, set text, and array list dot get item at position. That's all. So this will set the string from the array list to our version name. Okay, so our adapter is ready. So moving back to our main activity. Okay, let's create an instance of this adapter here. So custom adapter, let's call it custom adapter, new custom adapter. It requires two parameters, the context and a list of strings. So let's create one. So private array list of string get array list. Okay, let's create an array list inside. Array list is equal to new array list. let's create a string s, let's call it cupcake. Let's do arraylist.add and s. Let's do this a couple of times to create a list, and let's just return this array list. Well, our array list is ready, so let's just pass it here. So get array list, and let's just set this adapter to our recycler view. So recycler view, let's set adapter, custom adapter. Well, everything's ready. Let's build our application and have a look. Well, our application is built, so let's have a look. Okay, let's open Visor. And as you can see, our application is running and we can see a list of cupcake, but it's not scrolling because the list items aren't enough. Let's provide some padding and margins just to make things a little more clean. So let's provide a padding here, say 5 dp, and let's provide a margin here, say 5 dp. So that would give us a total of 10 dp. So let's run our application again. Well, our application is running, so let's have a look. Well, now as you can see, it's scrolling, and that's all for RecyclerView, folks. If you have any doubts, any queries, feel free to drop a comment and we'll go through it. And if you need the code, the link to GitHub is already in the video description. Check it out. Bye.